Ukrainians are fighting smarter by using drones that can destroy tanks, and their strategy is paying off. Russian forces pulled back in the face of a fierce counterattack.
Ukraine's success is due in part to military aid sent by the West and technology given by private donors. Chuck Holton brings us the story from the front lines.
Ukrainians hope their military's counteroffensive in the east could signal a turning point in the war. The ongoing operation has been so successful, the Ukrainian army has retaken more ground in 5 days than the Russians captured in the past 5 months.
This operation was possible because of the resolve of the armed forces, because our commanders, from the president to every commander in the battlefield, are so devoted to the victory.
The city of Kharkiv has endured almost daily rocket attacks since April. On Sunday, a Russian missile strike took out the power grid, causing the city to go dark. It once held 1 million people, but is now relatively empty, and those who stayed live in constant fear of death from a Russian missile. Now, nearby villages feel hopeful as Ukrainian troops push the invaders out. Up until now, Russia has held a huge advantage in tanks and artillery, but the Ukrainians have figured out how to turn off-the-shelf technology into a force multiplier, making a commercial drone nearly equal to a Russian tank in combat power.
One of our soldiers with the technology, it's stronger than maybe 10 or 20 soldiers from Russia.
If you are unfamiliar with warfare, you might say that there was heavy fighting going on in this area where we are, in a place called Pisky in the southern part of Donetsk province. And though there have been artillery barrages going near constantly for the several hours that we've been here now, it doesn't necessarily qualify as a pitched battle. That's because the Russians are just randomly firing artillery pretty much all day long, all night long. They have a near limitless supply of that, but they're not really making any gains. And that's because the Ukrainians are fighting smarter. And in so doing, they can hold off the Russians, even though the Russians outnumber them about 50-1.
The technology now is good. When you have a mobile phone and you can fighting with the technology, this helps us to win.
A Russian tank costs about $4.5 million to build, while an off-the-shelf drone runs a little over $1,000. Since these tiny drones are responsible for destroying hundreds of tanks, that makes them priceless for these Ukrainian airborne troopers.
Rather than fight the Russian tanks head-to-head, we use the drones to spot the enemy positions, then pass that information on to our long-range artillery to be destroyed. The only thing we need is more ammo. If we had enough ammunition, the enemy wouldn't stand a chance.
Many of these drones and internet systems have been donated, courtesy of individuals giving to crowdfunding projects. For these troops who've been fighting without a break since the war began, it brings hope. They may soon get back to their loved ones.
I tell my girls, I love you so much, that's why I stay here. My oldest daughter said, "Papa, did you get shot?" And I said, "No, the Russians don't have the budget for that this year."
I'm absolutely sure that we will win, but it's maybe not in this month, or maybe not to the end of this year, but it's as soon as possible. I'm absolutely sure that this is possible.
From the Donbas, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.